Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna be converting 0.85 into a fraction and the percentage. Now, if you guys notice, today's lecture is called fractions, decimals, and percentages, and that's because those are the three different types of notation that we're gonna be looking at. Okay, so we're gonna look at 0.85, and I have this little cheat sheet for you guys here. And obviously 0.85 is a decimal, right? And so we're going to be turning that into a percentage, and we're going to be turning it into a fraction. Let's do percentage first, just because it's easier. And I have this chart posted on Canvas for you guys, or you guys can keep this up on your screen, your Chromebook or phone, so that you guys can follow along. But if I want to turn a decimal into a percentage, what does it say I have to do? Yeah, you just multiply it by 100. Super easy. So you just go on your calculator and you just punch in 0.85 times 100, and there you go. That's your percentage. So it's going to be 85%. Yeah. So again, these next couple of weeks might be really easy if you're comfortable with this, or it can be really hard if your math skills aren't up to snuff. So just make sure you guys are following along. If you don't know, if it's easy, just consider it free points. Yeah. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go from a decimal into a fraction. Now, this one is a little bit trickier, but what you want to do is you want to look at the last number in the decimal, and you want to figure out which place it's in, okay? Now, if you guys don't remember from your math classes, if you have a decimal, does anyone remember what this first place is called? Yeah, tenths, good. Okay, the second place is called hundredths. Yeah, hundredths. And then the third one is thousandths. And then we just keep going to 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, etc., etc. Okay, now you will need to know these terms because it'll let you figure out what number you need to put your decimal over. So this is the second number after the decimal. So we said this is the hundredths place, right? So what we want to do is we want to take every number after the decimal point, 85, and just put it over 100. And that's how you make a decimal into a fraction. Super simple. You just take the last number and then you just figure out which place it's in. It's in the hundredths place. So we just put every number after the decimal over 100. Okay, super easy. Now we do need to simplify this fraction, which means we need to divide the top and bottom by the common factor. So 85 is pretty easy. What's the common factor between 85 and 100? 5. Yeah, 5. So we just divide everything on the top and bottom by 5. That means we'll get 20 on the bottom, and we should get 17 on the top. Okay, so that's it. So your fraction is 17 over 20, and your percentage is 85%. So basically, these three numbers are the same thing. It's just different ways of writing the same value. So 0.85 is the same as 85%, and it's the same thing as 17 over 20. Okay. Any questions? Pretty easy. Hopefully, it's not too bad. Yeah. So we took the 85 because, and it's in the hundredths place, right? The last number. So we put 85 over 100. And so we need to simplify. So we divided the top and bottom by 5. Yeah. Alrighty, let's move on to the next question. So I'm not going to have this chart up anymore. So just make sure that you guys have it handy if you do need it. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to try this one out. I want you to convert 64% into a decimal and then into a fraction. So we just went from a decimal to percentage and fraction. Now we're just going to go in different steps. So turn this percentage into a decimal and then turn it into a fraction. Okay, so I'll give you guys a minute and a half to do that, and then we will come back together and finish it up. Alrighty, guys. So I'll give you maybe 40 seconds to finish that up. Alrighty, guys. So if you guys are finishing up, feel free to quietly finish it up, but I'm gonna start going over this one. Okay. So we start with a percentage, right? And so we're gonna turn that into a decimal first. So we can look at the chart that we have up here. And so if I want to go from a percent to a decimal, what do I have to do? Yeah, you got to divide by 100, right? It's the opposite of what we did earlier. Decimal to percent is multiply by 100. Percent to decimal is you need to divide by 100. So we're going to divide by 100. So what we're going to do is just go on our calculator and plug in 64. Don't punch in percent because that'll mess up your calculations. But you're just going to do 64 divided by 100, and that'll give you 0.64. And so that's going to be the conversion from a percent to a decimal. Okay, 64% is equal to 0.64. Okay. Snitch. All right, and then we're going to turn this into a fraction. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the last number. Okay, the last number is in the hundredths place. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put 64 over 100. Okay. All right, we need to simplify this. So we need to divide the top and bottom by the same factor. Yeah, what's up? Do you have a question? Yeah, you need to divide the top and bottom by the same factor. So what's one factor you can divide it by? Yeah, 2 is an easy one, so let's go with 2. So if we divide 64 by 2, we get 32, and 100 by 2, we get 50. But if you look at this, can we divide it again by another common factor? Yeah, what's a common factor we can do? Yeah, we can do 2 again. So what we can do is divide 32 by 2, which will give us 16 over 25. Okay. Or if you guys noticed, you could just divide the first one by 4, and that'll get you to 16 over 25 as well. But either way, as long as you get the correct answer, I'm good with that. Okay. So for this, the next couple weeks, especially the math portion, there's a lot of ways to do it. So if you guys can get the correct answer every time, cool with you guys doing it your own way for these general math things. Okay, I only need you to do it my way when I tell you to do it my way because it'll be helpful for you in the long run. But for today, if you can get the correct answers in the way that you're comfortable doing it, I'm cool with that. Just make sure you show your work. It's algebra, basic algebra. Alrighty, guys, let's go on to number 3, and this is the last conversion type of problem. Okay, so here we have the value 4.5. Shh, you guys are really chatty today. Why do you got so much energy? It's Monday. Oh, that's good. All right. I'll give you guys about 2 minutes on this one. This one might be a little bit trickier, but I want you guys to convert 4.5 into a fraction and into a percentage. Okay, so 4.5. Okay, this one might be a little bit weird. Okay, but I want you guys to turn 4.5 into a fraction and a percentage. You're a genius. Thank you. Can't hear anything you're saying. Oh, okay. Alrighty, guys, maybe 30 more seconds and then we will finish up. Alrighty, guys, let's go over this problem and then we'll move on to a different set of problems. So 4.5 is obviously not a fraction or a percentage because there's no fraction line and there's no percent sign, which means 4.5 is going to be some sort of decimal form, right? So if I want to turn 4.5 into a percentage, what do I have to do with that number? Yeah, you want to multiply it by 100. Okay, so we're going to go on our calculator, plug in 4.5 multiplied by 100, and that'll give you 450%. Okay, so 4.5 is the same thing as 450%. No. All right. The tricky one is going from a decimal into a fraction. Okay. All right, so what we want to do, the problem is that we have a value in front of the decimal sign, right? Before we only had a 0 in front of it. But let's think about this logically. If we break this number down, we can say that it's the same thing as 4 plus 0.5, right? Right? 4.5 is 4 plus 0.5. So we know that 4 is just a regular whole number, but this is a decimal. So if I wanted to turn 0.5 into a fraction, what fraction is 0.5 equal to? Yeah, so 5 is in the tenths place, so it would be the same thing as 5 over 10, right? Okay, which we can reduce down into 1/2. Okay. All right, so what that means is 4 is just a regular number, so we can just write 4. And so 0.5 is the same thing as 1/2. So for the fraction, we can have a mixed number 4.5. Okay, if you wanted to make it an improper fraction and get fancy, you could do 9/2, which is the same thing. But I'm cool with you guys just leaving it at a mixed number. Okay. I'm glad. Alrighty, any questions about converting fractions, decimals, percentages? Pretty easy? Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to the second type of problem that we're gonna go over today. Okay, so let's go on to this. So the second type of problem we're gonna be talking about is writing percentages using data or like word problems or things like that. Okay, so in chem, we have to use percentages a lot when we're talking about the info we get from labs. So before we do this problem, hey guys, you guys being really rude right now to the people who are trying to listen. So during the lecture, if you have stuff to say, you guys can take a step outside and talk about it. But for the people that do want to listen, please keep it down, okay? Because you guys are being really selfish, having your own personal conversations. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the formula we're going to use for percentages is percentage is equal to whatever you're looking for divided by the total times 100%. Okay, so just make sure you have this written down because we'll be using this formula quite a bit throughout the year. And this is kind of just helpful for everyday life. Like when you're trying to figure out what percent you got on your exam, you just divide your score by the total times 100%. That's how you get the percentage for your grades. Or if you want to do taxes when you're 18, what percentage of your income you're paying in taxes, same thing. Okay. Okay, so if we take a look at the problem, it says the average teenager spends about 7.5 hours looking at a screen each day. So what percentage of the day is that? Okay, so the value that we're looking for is the time that you spend on a screen. And so are we going to put that on the top of the fraction or the bottom of the fraction? The top, because that's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for screen time. So we're going to put 7.5 hours on the top. And then we're going to multiply that by 100%. But before we do that, we need to divide it by the total. So what should we put for the total?
24.
Yeah, 24 hours. Okay, so 24 hours. Okay, so whenever you guys see a fraction line, the fraction line is the same thing as division. And so if you guys want to write that down, the fraction line is always equal to dividing. So if you have a number on the top, and a number on the bottom, you just need to do top divided by bottom. So this, what I would punch into my calculator is 7.5 divided by 24 times 100%. Okay. So on your calculator, you guys can just plug in 7.5 divided by 24 and then times 100, and that'll give you 31.25. Okay, so the average teenager spends about 31.25% of the day on their phone or computer, which is a lot of time. Okay, because you spend about what, 30%, 8 hours sleeping, and so the other third of the day is on a screen. Yeah, 12. You sleep 12 hours, dude. Why are you so short then? Yeah. Oh, you're not 5'9". 6'1". Dude, if you're 6'1", I'm 8'8". All right, so just make sure that you're comfortable using this formula because you will be using it throughout the year quite a bit. All right, you guys ready for the last one? All right, the last type of problem you're gonna be looking at are gonna be solving for x. Okay, you guys might have seen this before in your algebra classes. Hopefully you guys are comfortable doing these types of problems because the next time we meet, we're gonna do a lot of solving with fractions and multiplying and dividing with fractions. Just make sure you guys are comfortable with this, okay? Okay, so let's start off with the easy one, and then I'll give you guys a hard one to try on your own, and then we'll be done for the day, okay? So if we're solving for x, which that means that we need to make sure that x is by itself, okay? So we want to get rid of everything on the same side as x. So let's start with the fraction. So if 3 is on the bottom of the fraction, that means 3 is being divided, right? So if I want to get rid of 3 on the bottom of the fraction, what do I need to do to both sides? yeah, multiply. You want to do the opposite. So you're going to multiply the left side and the right side by 3, because if I have times 3 and divided by 3, they can cancel out. Okay, anything on the top of a fraction, right? Because 3 is 3 over 1. Anything on the top of the fraction will cancel out automatically with whatever's on the bottom of a fraction. Make sure you guys keep that in mind. If you have something on the top and bottom of a fraction, they can cancel each other out when they're being multiplied and divided. Okay, so if I want to simplify this, I can get 2x, and then 4 times 3 is 12, so 12 over 7. Alrighty, so it looks like we have 2x on the left side. So if we have 2x, what are the 2 and the x doing with each other? Are they adding, subtracting? Yeah, they're multiplied, right? If you have 2x, it means it's being multiplied. So if I want to get rid of the 2 on the left side, what do I have to do? Yeah, I need to divide by 2. That way the 2's can cancel out. Okay, and then I would have to divide by 2 here as well. Okay, which means on the left side, I'll have x, and then you'll have 12 over 7 divided by 2. Now, if you guys remember, what does the fraction line mean? Yeah, divide. So fraction line means divide. So we're going to do 12 divided by the bottom, 7. And then we're going to divide that again by 2. And that'll give you your final answer. X is going to be equal to 0.85. And then you guys can just give me 3 numbers after the decimal, 857. And so that is going to be your answer. Okay, so the key thing that I want you guys to take away from this is that if you have something on the top and bottom of a fraction, you can just cancel them out. Okay, if you have something on the top and bottom of a fraction, they cancel out. That's how we can cancel out the 3 on the bottom, and then that's how we also cancel out the 2, because dividing by 2 is the same thing as putting it over 2. Okay. Easy peasy? Okay, so I'm going to give you one that's a little bit trickier, and this will be the last one that we do today. Okay, so here you're going to be solving for x again. Okay, and this is going to be the last one that we do together. Okay, you're going to be solving for x. Okay, now I know this might seem a little weird because there's a y, but see if you guys can make sure that you just have x by itself on a fraction. Okay, so take a second to try that out. Give you guys about a minute. Alrighty, guys, maybe about 30 more seconds. Alrighty, guys, let's go over this one and then we will be all done for today. Okay, so we're going to be solving for x, but if you guys notice, x is on the bottom of the fraction, right? Okay, so if we have x on the bottom of the fraction, but that's what we're looking for, we need to make sure that x gets to the top, okay? Because you can't solve for something that's on the bottom of the fraction. So if you notice x is on the bottom, how can I get x on top of the fraction? Yeah, you want to multiply by x on both sides. Because if you multiply by x on both sides, the x's on the left, they cancel out, right? And on the right side, we have x on top. So we're good to go. So if we rewrite this, it'll be 14y over 5, which is equal to x times y divided by 13. Okay, so we multiply by x on both sides because we want x on the top. All right, and then from there, it's just regular algebra. Since I have 13 on the bottom of the fraction, how can I get rid of that 13? Yeah, multiply it by 13. So I'm going to multiply it by 13 on this side. And then let's see if we can get rid of 2 in one step. How can I bring the y to the other side? Yeah, divide, the opposite of what it's doing with x, right? It's multiplied to x, so we can divide by y. And again, if we have the same thing on the top and bottom of a fraction, they can cancel out. And so you would just multiply the opposite by 13 over y, because 13 divided by y. And so on the right side, we just have x. And then on this side, we have 13 times 14 times y divided by y times 5. Alrighty, so since I have y on the top and bottom of a fraction, what can I do with those? They just cancel out, right? Remember, if we have something on the top and bottom of a fraction, they can cancel each other out, which leaves us with just 13 times 14 divided by 5. And that's all you need to plug into your calculator, and then you will be all done. So 13 times 14 divided by 5, and that'll give you an answer of 36.4. So x is equal to 36.4. Alrighty, and that's pretty much it. That's about as hard as it's gonna get for your assignment today. And it's kind of a good stepping stone for what we're gonna go over next time we see each other. Yeah. Yeah, they cancel out because you got a y on the top and y on the bottom. It won't always do that, but in this situation, it does cancel out. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. So I'll give you guys the rest of the class period to work on your assignment. Before I let you guys go, I do need to show you guys something. So if you guys go to Canvas, we have unit 3. And if you go to fractions, decimals, percentage, that's where your assignment is. And there's also a great video of an MBA prospect. And so you guys can check that out too as well. Okay. Alrighty, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if you guys want to check your answers. Play it again. It's true. This is greatness. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.